I'm really quite pleased with how all of my UV islands have been packed inside of that positive UV quadrant. But before I send this over to Substance Painter or export it to another application, I want to make sure that when I place an image on the material itself, that it's going to be correctly accessing the UVs that I've created and all of that texture information is flowing the way I want. In every sense, the finalization of our UVs is a point of no return. After we export this model over into Substance Painter, we're kind of locking our UVs into that environment. I like to think of our UVs kind of like a coloring book. Once we start coloring in the pictures in the coloring book, we can't change the lines, the outlines of all of the coloring objects in the book itself without having to restart the entire texturing or coloring process. So we have to be very confident that the UVs that we create here are what they're going to be. Otherwise, we're going to have to redo our textures anytime we update our UVs, which is not what we're after. So here's what I like to do. I like to throw a texture on a material and assign that material to the bear just to see how things are rocking and rolling. And I have a really great texture that I've been using for years. It's just an arrow that both allows me to see if the UVs are being accessed correctly and if the flow of the texture is what I want it to be. Let's close down the UV editor here for a moment and bring open the Hypershade. Now, I think before I start the Hypershade, I apologize. I'm going to go into my bear itself. I'm in object mode right now. And there's a couple things in here that I want to do and prep before I go any further, okay? First and foremost, let's look at the channel box. And you can see we have a lot of object history in here. Every time that we've gone in and we've tweaked or created any of our UVs, it's saved that object history on the object itself. So that's a good time to get rid of all of this. We're done with the creating of our UVs, so we can delete our history, freeze the transforms, and know that we're still in a good situation. Don't worry, all the UVs are still there. If we were to go back into our UV editor, excuse me, that's Hypershade. If we were to go back into our UV editor, you'll see that nothing's gone. It's all still there. So deleting your history is not going to delete your UVs. All right. Also, while we're in object mode, let's right-click on the model, and I'm going to assign an existing material, which is just the Lambert material. You don't have to use the AI standard shader model if you don't want to. The Lambert's going to do just fine. Okay, if we go over into the Hypershade, here's the Lambert material. Here's the Lambert material that I just applied to my model. And so let's go in and add in a texture. Now this could be any texture. What I like to use is a little arrow texture, and I'll be more than happy to supply this texture inside of our learning resources. This arrow does a really great job of kind of showing me the flow of the UVs across the model itself. It's kind of one step above that little checker pattern that Maya was going to be creating for us automatically. Okay, so inside of the color channel on the Lambert material, let's load in a file. And with that file input node still selected inside of our Hypershade, we can load in the image right here. And I've just saved it to desktop. It's called Arrow Texture. And voila, there it is. If we were just to kind of put the Hypershade to a side here, we can start to see that arrow texture show up on our model. Now, if you don't see the arrow texture, that's probably because your textures have not been activated inside the viewport itself. There's a couple of ways you can do this. The easiest way is just to go to the top row on your keyboard. And of course, 5 is going to smooth shade it, but 6 is also going to load in all the textures. 7 is going to preview the lights. Guess what? We don't have any, so that's why it's black, but we'll go back to 6 so we can see all the textures showing up on the model itself. Okay, so we have some adjustments to the image that we need to make, and that adjustment happens in this Place 2D Texture node. I'm going to go over, just kind of put my Hypershade in a spot right there. That's good. All right, and specifically what we're going in here for is that we want the UV, repeat UV. Its default value is 1. Let's just put this at, I don't know, a value of 10 on both U and V, which is going to make the image smaller, and the pattern is going to repeat more and more and more across the mesh. Yeah, there we go. I'm pretty happy with this, and you can start to see the power of all of these little arrows inside the model itself. I'm going to make that repeat value, a little bit smaller, maybe 15 by 15. And I'm also going to go into the rotate UV option down below and put this at 180. And that's just for me. That flips the image inside of the viewport, and now I can see pretty directly how all this is going to work. Now I can see, because of that arrow, the flow of my UVs, or the flow of the textures across the UVs, and I'm getting a great visualization on the areas that are working and the areas that are not working. In addition, we can also very easily see the impact of all of our UV seams on the model itself. You can see right here, here's a great illustration of where the seam is and the role that seam is going to play inside of our texturing workflow. So gotta keep in mind, this is the time to make a change if we want to make a change. This is a point of no return. Once we export this file, any changes that we make to the UVs are going to result in us retexturing the entire model. So we want to be confident in our result before we go any further. Now I'm just doing a quick inspection here to make sure that things are going right. Oh, look at this. I'm happy I did this because I have one leg whose UVs are flipped. This is the power of that little arrow texture. As I can see pretty quickly, we have one leg, or actually we have 3 out of the 4 legs where the arrows are pointing down, which is just fine for me. And then I have one leg where they're kind of pointing upwards to the right. Let's jump into our UV editor real fast and fix that problem before we go any further. Let's find that arrow. And I'm going to turn off, because I've loaded in a texture onto the material and I'm accessing the UVs, the texture showing up in my UV editor right here, and I know it's real small, is our way to deactivate and activate the texture and the visualization of the texture inside the UV editor. At times that's a really great thing to have on there. It's kind of blocking us at this moment. Okay, let's find the island that we need to fix. And it's this guy right up there in the corner. Well, luckily for us, we'll just select it and we'll rotate it around until we're pretty happy with it. Somewhere right around in here. Now, I don't think we need to refire the layout tool. I think I'm just going to hand pack this. Keep in mind, it's all got to be packed inside of this positive UV quadrant in this first big grid square. That way, when we texture this over in Substance Painter, the UVs and all the texturing information are going to be stacked on top of each other right in the application itself. So this has paid huge dividends. It's really easy for me to see and analyze the quality of my UVs when we have a material and a texture applied to that material. I can see mistakes. I can see if it's working the way I want to work, because once I export this, I'm done with the UV stage.